Hello and welcome to Relatively Crafty, a knitting podcast. I am your host, Christy. I come to you from the Denver area of Colorado, where I live with my husband, Ron, our two daughters, Tatum and Delaney, and our tuxedo kitty, Lulu. Welcome! If you are looking for me, you can find me on Ravelry as Cristi-Lael and on Instagram and Goodreads as Cristi-Lael without the dash. And I'll put all that down below. It is always in the Dropbox down below the video. I put all the show notes for everything. That normally doesn't get put up the same day. Normally it's the day after, but it's up there. Sometimes it's 2 days after, but it gets up there eventually. Let's see, we also have a Relatively Crafty podcast group on Ravelry where we talk about knittings and have giveaways and knit-alongs. Right now we're having the spring stuffy knit-along, which is going from March 19th until June 20th, which is the entirety of spring. And you are encouraged just to make, in any way, sewing, weaving, crocheting, felting, knitting, a stuffy. And yeah, there's some really cute ones that have been in there. Makes me want to make more, but I'm kind of on a stockinette sock kick lately, so anyway, yeah, I think that is all of the administrative stuff. Pretty quick this time. So let's go ahead and get into knitting. I have two FOs today. The first one is a hat for my eldest child, Tatum. If you guys recall, a couple of weeks ago, I made a Kit Kat hat by Andre Sue Knits for my youngest child, Delaney. And Tatum, who normally doesn't care for hand knit things because she has sensitive skin, was super upset that she didn't have one. Mommy, I want a kitty cat hat. So I didn't have enough left over in this Knit Picks Felici worsted in the hopscotch colorway. So I went onto the Knit Picks website and looked at the swish worsted that they had and had Tatum pick out a color. She picked out the color Dusk and I knit her own. Oops. Let me fix it on Fred. Her own kitty cat hat. And she is in love with it. And she's like, when do you podcast? Can I wear it now? So anyway, here it is. I used swish worsted in Dusk for the ribbing, and then just used the rest of the hopscotch for the rest of the hat. And I think it turned out super cute. Now, the Dusk does not match any of the colors, but that's the one that Tatum wanted, and she's very happy with it. She tried it on, and it looks really cute on her. So there you go. These are super quick and easy to knit. It is the simplest pattern ever. You basically, it's a free pattern, so I can give away information, but you cast on 2x2 ribbing on a smaller needle and then go up. I think I did a 5 for the ribbing, and then I went up to an 8 for the rest of it, and you're just knitting a square. You know, there's no decreases. You might notice that the top of the hat is slightly different for Tatum and Delaney's hat. And that is because with Delaney's, which is this one, I did the 3-needle bind off, which was in the original pattern. But with Tatum's, which is this one, I Kitchenered. And so you don't get that kind of puckered look with the Kitchener, yeah, you don't get the puckered look with the Kitchener. And I think that that looks better, personally. So yeah, and then I tacked down right here for the ears so that when you put it on, it makes proper kitty ears. It's super cute. Super easy. You could really knit these in a day, honestly, especially the worsted weight ones. which is what the Kit Kat by Andre Sue Knits is. It's meant for worsted. Super fast. The one that I made for myself, I knit a fingering weight version, and so it took a little bit longer, but this, super easy, super cute. I mean, such a simple idea, but so adorable. I highly recommend that, especially if you are still fairly new to knitting, because yeah, as long as you can knit and purl and knit in the round, and even if you're learning to knit in the round, that would be a good one to learn to do so on. Plus, if you don't know how to Kitchener or do a 3-needle bind off, then you're learning a new technique, and you don't have to learn it until the end. My other FO is a pair of socks. I know none of you are surprised by that. But I finished this pair. Wait, I gotta sneeze. I finished this pair, which was, if you recall from last week, this was a skein of yarn from Yarn Inc. in the Totally Rad colorway that I had gotten in a D-stash, but the colorway that I had purchased, or the picture of the skein that I had purchased, was different than what actually came. Now, I had purchased the Totally Rad colorway, and that is what came to me, but the photo was of a different colorway, apparently. I probably would not have bought this had I seen the appropriate picture. Regardless, when it came, it had some broken strands, so I contacted the seller. She refunded my money, told me to keep the skein, and so then I wound it up to see what actually I was dealing with, then decided to go ahead and cast on the socks. So I went ahead and knit them up. They're not the worst socks ever, but they're also not my most favorite socks ever. It pulled kind of interestingly. I always think it's interesting the way that it's all the same yarn, the same colors, but the heel and the toe look like they're made out of a contrasting yarn, just because of the way the pooling changes the look of the colors. Very interesting. So yeah, I did these with my regular sock recipe, a Turkish toe cast on. I did a fish lips kissed heel, and then 1x1 ribbing with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. Super simple. I used 2 of the 3, like 25-gram thereabouts little bits that I had gotten out of the skein, and then I gave the rest to Tatum, who has decided that she wants to learn how to knit again. She's come up to me about 3 times. I think this is the 4th time now in the past 6 years, and decided that she wants to learn how to knit, and so we go over it, and she knits a couple of rows, and then she decides she doesn't want to anymore. So this is now the 4th time, and I cast on this on, like 20 stitches onto some needles, and she's knit, I don't know, maybe 5 rows of garter, and that was like 2 days ago, and she hasn't picked it up since, so we'll see. I know that there's things that she would like to make, and I know that she would like to be able to share this hobby with me, like kind of have that bond with me over it, but I don't know that she really enjoys knitting very much. I kind of feel like Delaney will get more out of it because she really enjoys wearing hand knits. But Delaney hasn't taken to knitting either. And I don't want to force them, but I would love for either of them to get into it. Although, I say that, but I don't want to have to share any of my stuff with them. Does that make me a bad mom? I don't want to share my yarn with them. I don't want to share my gear with them, my notions and whatnot. I take care of my stuff, and I'm kind of particular, and they don't take care of things. So I'm not really sure I want them to really get into knitting and then decide they want to go shopping in my stash. Oh dear. That's another reason why I've never pushed my mom to really get into knitting. She knows how to knit, but she doesn't really do it. And that is because I know that she'll come shopping in my stash too. All right. So that is the last FO I have, but I do have a couple of HOs. HO stands for half-finished objects, by the way, HO. I'm not using a derogatory term against my my knitting. So first I finished the first sock of my box of socks for April. If you recall, I'm doing my box of socks entirely out of Knitterly Things Vesper sock this year. And here is my first April sock. This is in the colorway Spring Ahead. If you recall, there's lots of exclamation points in that colorway name. And then I used, I don't know if you can tell, I used a bit of leftover Volmisa for the heel. The red doesn't match exactly, but I kind of like the look of that solid heel instead of having it be stripy. I did this with a Turkish toe cast on and an afterthought heel, a true afterthought heel, again with 1x1 ribbing and Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And I'm really keen on how it turned out. And then I did start the second sock. But there isn't much done yet. It's just an itty bitty baby toe. So, I will make more progress on this. I will have it done by the time I podcast next week. For sure. Because we are leaving shortly after I podcast to go to my graduation. Well, Ron and my brothers and my graduation. Yeah, and so I want to have kind of all new sock projects. I think I'm going to take 2 sock projects and a sweater project with me, because we're going to be in the car quite a lot. And while I do most of the driving when we're going on family trips around town, Ron drives a lot when we do cross-country trips. So yeah, I'll have a lot of free time in the car to knit. And so yeah, so I'm gonna, my current plan is to get all of my sock projects that are on the needles done before I leave. I have another whip, just whipping it out. No, I have another hoe, sorry. Just hoeing it up. So wrong. Don't tell jokes like that, Christy. Anyway, so I finally finished my first Wandering Rainbow sock. This is the Wandering Rainbow pattern, and you can see that it is meant to be knit with a main color and then some rainbow minis, and the minis wander, the rainbow wanders across to the other side of the foot, over the ankle. Now, I will post a picture here of what the pattern looks like originally. You can see that I made some changes with the end of my rainbow. I was really done. I was really over knitting the rainbow. Having all of those, there was 6 different ends, 6 different strands that I had attached to the sock the entire way down, that I only knit 1 stitch of going down the foot. And they got tangled up so much. There's so many times I had to stop and just unwind, like spin the sock around 100 times so that I could unwind those 6 minis. And it just became such a hassle, and I just really didn't enjoy it by the time I got to the end of the wandering part. And so I was trying to just finish the sock up, and I was getting closer to the toe, but I still had like an inch left, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I decided to kind of do this cabling thing to bring the bring it to kind of like a point. And I don't know why I thought that I would do that, but it did help there at the end to make it a little bit more enjoyable. So I did 2-stitch cables, kind of bring them together, kind of like the end of a pencil, I guess. And I kind of like the way it looks. I think it adds something, honestly. So yeah, that is the first sock done. And the second sock is going to look different because I'm not putting the rainbow on the second sock. Somebody very wise, one of my friends that comments, and unfortunately I can't remember exactly who it was. I apologize that I don't remember who you were that made this comment, but they said, why don't you just not put the rainbow on the second sock? Because I was lamenting about having to make the second one and just having to deal with all of those ends again. And she just said, why don't you just not make the second sock without the rainbow? It'll look cool. And you know what? I love that idea. So the second sock is just going to be blue, just this blue, and it's going to be plain stockinette, and I think it's going to be great, and I'm okay with that. And I have cast it on, so I just have the ribbing. But it will knit quickly because it's just going to be a stockinette sock. Now I do have all of my little minis, so if for some reason when I finish the second sock I'm unhappy with it, I probably could figure out how to do like a duplicate stitch and put the rainbow in there or something. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to bother me. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this first sock came out. It was interesting. The pattern is really cool. The idea is phenomenal. I love the idea of it. I just didn't enjoy the actual application of putting the rainbow on there. So I don't need it on both socks. I'm not going to put it on both socks. It's my knitting. I can do what I want. So yeah, really keen to get that pair finished. That's been on the needles for a long time. And then my final sock whip does not have a hoe. I'm still on the first sock. But that is this. Now this is kind of a fun little background story. I have a friend, a real life knitting friend named Melissa. And Melissa and Beth and I spend a lot of time together. We are in similar points in our lives. Our children are somewhat the same ages, and we kind of, you know, we get along really well. So Melissa went out of town last year and went to a knitting or a yarn fest, and she has another friend who is a dyer who dyed this gorgeous skein of yarn. And so Melissa picked up a skein for herself and for Beth and for me. And we decided we would knit together. And the skein looks like this when it was skeined up. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is the Dyeing Arts in her fabulous base. And the colorway is Space Unicorn with silver stellina. And it was just so much fun. So we decided to go ahead and knit a pair of socks. This is what mine looks in the skein. You can see all the stellina. It's very sparkly. And I have cast on my socks. I'm just making plain vanilla socks. Melissa is making some cabled socks. I don't know what Beth is making, but here's what I've got so far. So my pooling, I was hoping I was going to get some pooling, and I am pleased with the pooling that I am getting. It's kind of a cool idea, kind of this spiral. But I have to say that I kind of wish that I knit at Melissa's gauge, because her pooling is even better. Now I cast on 60 stitches for mine on a size 1. She did 72 on a 2, and her gauge is, you know, completely different, of course, because she's a different knitter. But it also helps that she has different size needles and a different stitch count. But here is a picture of our socks together at knit night last night, and you can see that her pooling is, it's so cool. I kind of wish that I could get mine to do that. I couldn't go up a needle because this is already at a loose enough gauge. If I went up a needle, they would just be way too loose. The gauge would be way too loose. So I went down a needle. I went and got a 0 and tried that out with some more stitches. I have 60 on here. I tried 64, and then I tried 68 on the 0, and I still wasn't getting a good spiral pooling. So I figured I would just cut my losses and stick with this one. And I am pleased, as I said, with how this is turning out. I think it's gorgeous, and it's super sparkly, as you could see in the light. Which I'm normally not a big sparkly sock fan, but I do like it on this skein for some reason. So yeah, I'm really happy with how these are turning out. And hopefully I will have a finished pair of those to show you next week as well. Like I said, I want to get all my socks done before I leave. I have one final whip, and that is a sweater. Yay! I cast on a sweater. I know that you guys were so gracious to accept all of my socks last week, but I was able to cast on my Blue Sands cardigan, which looks like this. I am knitting it out of Volmisa DK in red for my main color, and then green and orange as my 2 contrasting colors. And I don't have much done yet, but I have cast on the beginning. So there it is. That's the back. I love this green. It's called Fruling, and it's just the most beautiful green, really. So yeah, don't have a whole lot, but I'm getting almost to the end of the green. Like I don't know, maybe another 10 or 15 rows, and then it will be time to change to the red. I think this sweater is going to go fast simply because the stripes. I find that stripy sweaters always go faster because the stripes are so much fun to knit. There it is. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's got an interesting raglan type construction that I'm liking. I love learning new techniques, and so it's got a saddle. It's called a saddled raglan yoke, and yeah, I'm just enjoying it. Trying out something different is always fun, and you know, I want to become a master knitter one day, so it's good to really not only attempt but also master all these different techniques. And then, when I have done them all, I can pick which one I like the best, which one is the most enjoyable to knit, and which one fits me the best, that I like the look of it on me the best. And, yeah. So, there you have it. That is all that I am working on this week. So, I do have a decent haul. If you recall, I went to the Interweave Yarn Fest this past weekend with my friends Beth and Melissa, and it was great fun. We went on Saturday and went to just the marketplace. I didn't take any classes, and I was very pleased to have somebody come up and recognize me, which has never happened before. It was such a great experience for me. Lori came up and she goes, "Are you Cristi?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh my goodness, I watch your podcast." And it was so special for me to have her come and talk to me about it. I just really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Lori, for coming up and talking to me. That really made my whole day. I came home and I told Ron about it right away. I'm like, "It's so cool, I got spotted." Here is a picture of Lori and myself together. It was just really neat to be able to meet her, and yeah, that just really just made my whole day. And then there was the yarn on top of it, like the frosting on the cake. So I was able to, we went through the entire marketplace, and it was so much fun. I spent way too much money. Really should have reined it in a little bit, but I didn't spend the most amount of money. I Beth bought more yarn than I did. I could at least take some solace in that. But let me go ahead and show you what I bought. So the first booth that we hit, it was right inside the front door. It was one of the ones that we really wanted to go to. And that was Western Sky Knits. I don't know if you're familiar with Western Sky Knits, but they do some really pretty colorways. And I bought one of theirs last year. Let me see if I can find it. Found it. You guys really need to be appreciative of the sacrifice I just made because I knocked half my sock yarn off my shelf. Anyway, last year I fell in love with this skein from Western Sky Knits. This is Fishbowl. I think it is just about one of the most perfect colorways ever devised. Covered in hair. And so I knew I wanted to get another one. I haven't knit this because I'm just so in love with it in the skein. Like, it's one of those ones that you almost want to frame. Like, I considered putting it in a shadow box. It's just so pretty. Look at it. This orange is my favorite shade of orange. And this color right here. Yeah. So anyway, so I knew I wanted another one. So I went ahead and looked through, and they had this colorway. This is called Wise Owl. And it is also super gorgeous. I am so in love with it. This is in her smooth sock, which is a 75-25 merino blend. And yeah, I'm gonna make some great socks. I'm very excited about it. And they also had a little sale bin. And you know me, I can't pass up sale yarn. So the sale bins were $15, and that was a super deal for this skein. This is in their MCN base, so it's an 80-10-10 MCN, merino cashmere nylon sock weight, and it doesn't have a colorway, but it's just a really pretty kind of golden orange. And since it's MCN, I don't really like that so much for my socks. I think it will make a pretty hat or cowl, or maybe use it in a shawl. I'm not entirely sure, but I will be saving it for something like that. It won't be used for socks. And I love this color. They had a couple of these. If I'd had more yarn budget, I might have gotten enough to make a sweater. In fact, maybe I should have done that. I didn't even think about that. They had like 4. Could have gotten a sweater's worth. Doesn't matter. I don't need another sweater quantity of yarn. I'll use this one. It's gorgeous. It'll be something pretty, I promise. Next, we hit the Mode booth, and that was something I wasn't familiar with, but Melissa and Beth really wanted to go there. It's Mode Knit Yarn, and I got one skein there. They have those gradient cakes, which I love the look of, but unless you knit shawls, when the gradient cakes are in sock yarn, really unless you knit shawls or you get enough to make a sweater worth, it doesn't really, like, I don't have much need for it. It doesn't really work as well for socks. I mean, they still make pretty socks, don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't quite have the magic as when you make use a whole skein and make a long gradiated shawl. But they had it in DK and worsted weight, and I thought, well, maybe I could make a gradiated hat. So I got this. This is in their worsted weight, their Mode Work Flow, I think it is called, worsted weight, and the colorway is Shabby Chic, which I think is going to make a gorgeous hat. And this will actually be cast on. I almost had this cast on to show you guys as a whip today, but I didn't quite get to it. I think I'm actually going to rewind this because I want to have the blue as the ribbing. And yeah, I'm afraid that I won't get through the entire skein, and I'd rather miss out on the red than this pretty blue. So, and since I use the center pull, I don't want to knit from the outside. So I'll just rewind it. That is what makes me happy. I know that I'm very often making more work for myself by rewinding it, but, you know. Then I hit the Woolly Wonka booth, which was another one that I had bought from last year. And actually, I'm thinking of using the skein that I got this year as one of the prizes for our stuffy KAL. This is the one that I got last year. It's called Spatterdash. And I just loved all the colors all together. The one that I got this year is just as gorgeous, and it is called Magic Bus. And yeah, just all of these colors. And then, let's see, what did we hit next? Before I continue on with, I don't think I'm able to keep these in order. But before I continue on with all the yarn, let me show you some of the notion-y things that I got. I got this cute little sock bag from My Sister Knits, which is a Fort Collins yarn shop, and they had a booth there, and it's got hedgehogs on it, which is super cute, of course, and then kind of a polka dotty yellow inside, and I was really sold with this heavy-duty zipper on it, which I like quite a lot. I think this will be just the right size for a sock project. Just a little bag to be able to throw in to another bag, you know, if you're like out and about, you throw it in your purse, and yeah, I think it'll be just enough for one sock or gloves or something like that, or a hat. So I got that, and then I suffer from really dry skin, so I hit the the Lolo Bar booth and got one of her Lolo bars, the Lolo Twist. So it's, you rub it on, and this is the Summer Breeze smell, which I like a lot. Kind of reminds you of, it's kind of tropical. And then I also, one of the booths had some Tuft Woolens, and I hadn't tried theirs before, but I'm very keen on these bars that, you know, you rub it on and then you rub it in, and I like that a lot. I don't like getting that stuff underneath my nails. So this one is Sweet Lime, which is also a really good smell. I like them both quite a lot. So I'm going to keep this one in my purse. It's a nice little small size for my bag. And then keep this one next to my knitting. My hands just get, well, I suffer from really dry skin. And so I'm dry all the time. And I have to lotion up every day, sometimes twice a day if it's especially windy or dry. Yesterday was a terribly windy day, and I put on lotion like 4 times yesterday and just felt tight and uncomfortable. But my hands are especially dry, and so it's nice to have these extra strong lotions that really, you know, they really penetrate. There was a little bead and button maker, a glass worker, JM Studios, and she had some gorgeous work, but a lot of it didn't fit my budget. However, while I was waiting for Melissa to make her purchase, I discovered this little tiny bowl of mini gummy bear beads. Yeah, I guess they're beads. And they're all glass, and so I had to pick up one of those. So I got a little tiny, this little tiny gummy bear, and he's kind of like tealy in color, and I just thought he was pretty. So, little tiny thing. I have no idea whatsoever what I'm going to do with him. They're probably just going to sit somewhere pretty and look cute. And then we stopped off at, unfortunately I don't remember all the names of the booths, but this little coaster caught my eye. I just thought it was absolutely perfect. If for some reason you can't read it, if it's not clear. It says, once in a while I pretend that I have insomnia. In reality, I have a knitting addiction and an inadequate respect for tomorrow. I just thought it was perfect. So, so yeah, I couldn't pass it up. I think I'm going to keep it at work and use it there. And speaking of work, I got a coffee cup for my new job, which I start very soon. The Knitba Pearl is a great company for puns. If you like puns, they have shirts and prints and cards and tags and coffee cups and wine glasses that are all knitting related puns. They have wine glasses that say 3 sheeps to the wind, sheep-faced. There's so many of them, and they're just adorable. But this one tickled me so much. I couldn't pass it up. I laughed so hard. So, there's the punchline. Rama Lama Ding Dong. And then you have Rama Lama Ding Dong. Ding dong. I love it. I know it's stupid, but I absolutely love it. So I'm starting my new job. I'm going to need a coffee cup. This is my work coffee cup that I'm going to sit on my coaster at work. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I'm going to show it to everybody who comments. And I'm going to laugh when I do. Okay, so that was all the non-yarny stuff that I got. So let's finish up with the yarn haul. I hit the MJ Yarns booth, which is a yarn company that I was introduced to for the yarn Yarn Along the Rockies yarn crawl that was back in August. I guess he used to be a local dyer, but I guess he's moved to Seattle, so not local anymore. But I totally fell in love with these 2 skeins. This is the Kuan Yin worsted, which is 100% superwash merino, Peruvian wool. I guess not. It's milled in Peru, but it's not Peruvian wool because it's merino. It's really soft. Peruvian wool is not soft. Anyway, this is aquamarine and this is garnet, and I just thought that they were gorgeous separately and gorgeous together, and so I'm thinking of something color work, maybe a cowl or a hat. Just the 2 of those together I think will be gorgeous. Can I say gorgeous again? Gorgeous. And then came across this indie dyer, which I hadn't heard of before, but I was really impressed with what she had on her booth. She is Knit Stitch. Her Etsy shop is knitstitchyarn.etsy.com. And this one I fell in love with immediately. I do not know the name of the colorway. It's Dangerous something. Indie dyers, when you write the colorway names, please write them legibly. I realize that you write them a lot and you get tired and you're trying to get stuff out. But I don't know if that's supposed to be Dangerous Cast or... That's definitely a T. And I think that's supposed to be a C at the beginning. But I don't know. Crust? I don't know. Anyway, it's pretty, whatever it's called. And then while we were checking out, I was just going to get this one skein, but while we were checking out, Beth was talking about unicorn yarn, and the dyer said, well, I have this one skein that's unicorn tail, which happened to be right next to me, so I showed it to Beth, and it was the last one. And Beth is like, well, I think I'm going to get this other one instead. And I said, well, if you're not going to buy unicorn tail, I need to buy unicorn tail. So I did. It's just, you know, it's beautiful. of course. So I got those, and then if you recall, I had two friends from Ravelry that were vendors there. The first one is White Birch Fiber Arts. I showed you a lot of her yarn last week. Remember this one? Yeah, this was one of them. She has recently changed her tags, but her dyeing is still amazingly gorgeous. She does these great stripies. So I got this one. This is Santa Baby. So it's going to go for my Christmas socks. Remember, I'm making 31 pairs of Christmas socks eventually to be able to wear as an Advent. And then you know me, I couldn't miss out on this orange and green striper, which is called Rust Remover. Absolutely gorgeous. And then my other friend Amy of Canon Hand Dyes, she was there. It was really great to see her. She and I are a little bit closer. And so I grabbed as much as I could afford. There was so much that I wanted from her booth. Her presentation is amazing. She has got such a great eye for that. But I did grab one of these. These are her polar opposites. So they're opposites. So this is gray with green stripes, and this is green with gray stripes. Absolutely love it. The Poison Dark colorway, and she was actually knitting on these while we were there, and they were making the most beautiful socks. So I grabbed a skein of it, and then I asked if she would dye me. She had a colorway that I really wanted, but she only had it on Sparkle. So I will hopefully get it from her after she's finished recuperating from all the shows that she's done. I think she's done 5 shows so far this year. And then I will get that from her. But then she also had these mini kits, and I have this is the one thing that I bought that was completely frivolous. Like, I did not have any plan for it. I still don't have a plan for it. I just bought it because it was pretty, and I wanted it because it was pretty. So even if I don't knit it, it is still pretty. And that is this minis set. This is Birds of a Feather. I'm hoping the glare isn't too bad. You can see there's a bunch of rainbow colored minis on the top, and then neutral minis on the bottom. And I don't know how many minis. I think that they are only maybe 5 grams. They're kind of small. But they're so beautiful. All put together like that. I mean, look at that. Is that just not gorgeous? So I might put them all together to do a mini project. It's a slightly more than a single skein. Or I may use it in several different projects, you know, some shawls or something like that. I know I could pair up these colorful ones with one one neutral and use it for a shawl or a cowl or something like that. I just couldn't pass it up. They were just so pretty. Just like this. They're just so pretty. So yeah. There you have it. And that's all that I bought. Just that. Okay, and that is all of the yarn content for the podcast. Go ahead and get into books. I don't have a lot to say about books. I've not been reading as much as I would like. Been studying a lot, of course, and all of that. But I did finish the Darker Shaded Magic trilogy that I had been reading for the past several weeks, and absolutely loved that. The first book got 4.5 stars, the second book got 4 stars, and then the third book was a full 5 stars for me. That was fantastic. I was really, really impressed with where she went with the third book. Just how much depth she gave the story, and tied everything in. It was just really, really well done. So absolutely highly recommend that trilogy. And then I decided to go ahead and pick up another series that I've been putting off for a long time, that I had almost all the books on audio, and that is the Hangman's Daughter series by Oliver Posh. I don't know exactly how you say that last name. There's a lot of syllables, or rather a lot of consonants to put together. These, I believe, are originally written in German? Maybe? And then they've been translated. And it is a historical fiction mystery series, possibly. Set in 1659 in Bavaria. And it focuses around, you know, a hangman, and back then superstitions ran rampant, and people were so quick to name somebody a witch, and to, you know, lynch them before anybody actually thought through anything properly. And so, you know, there was you know, nobody greets the hangman because it's bad luck, and, you know, just all these kinds of things. And so I haven't gotten very far. I'm only about 50 pages in. It is interesting, and it kind of, you know, makes you want to shake your head, because you're just like, really? Of course it's got to be the midwife, because she's obviously a witch, because anybody who spends that much time in a woman's hoo-ha is going to be a witch, right? It's just unnatural. I don't know. So yeah, I am interested. I have several of the books, and these are not in the proper publication order. This is the first one, The Hangman's Daughter. I also have The Beggar King, The Poisoned Pilgrim, and then The Dark Monk. I think this might be the second book. And there is 2 more that I don't have. I'm listening to them on audio. I'm enjoying them so far, and I'm hoping that this series will turn out to be good. We'll see. Yeah, so far so good. And yeah, what I'm reading at night is just some bleh, YA junk that I'm trying to get off my shelf. I'm trying to kind of cut down on some of the books that I have. I bought a lot of books used and on deep discount, just simply because they were so cheap or because they were so pretty, and I'm really running out of room on my shelves, and I don't have any space for any more bookshelves. And when we come back from our trip, I'm going to be coming back with more books, because my mom is a teacher and orders books from Scholastic for me. So I've got to find room for them. So I'm trying to clear out some stuff and read some of the books that have just been sitting unread. So getting into just like daily life with me, last week I talked about how I was going to be taking my test for social sciences and history, and I did that on Thursday morning, and I passed. Yay! Which was awesome. I went in feeling really secure, but if you recall, I studied every waking moment. If I wasn't working or sleeping, I was studying. Housework went to the side. Dinners were the most meager fare, because I was really just had to study, and I suffered from that. It was 2 weeks of just studying. And my body hurt from spending so much time in front of the computer. My eyes hurt. I would get headaches. My brain was tired from all the stuff that I was cramming in. These independent study courses that I'm taking are meant to be taken over 4 to 6 weeks, and I was smushing them all into 2 weeks, and it was just a lot. And because I just didn't have enough time, some of the reading I just couldn't get to. So I watched all the lecture videos, but I didn't get to read all the reading. And as a result of that, there was still quite a few questions on the test that I didn't know the answers to. I was able to make educated guesses, and I felt more secure in the educated guesses that I had made than I did for the first two tests that I took, but still, I wish that I had had the time to read all the stuff that I needed to read. So I came home on Thursday and I started studying for the natural sciences test, which is the next one that I need to take. And I was just feeling a little bit discouraged because with the history test, I had this foundation of historical knowledge that I'd already just gained on my own. I don't have that foundation for scientific knowledge. I'm just not as into science. It's not that I don't like it, I just, just don't know as much about it. And I knew that we were getting ready to go on our trip, and I was going to be going to the yarn festival, and then my mother-in-law's birthday is next weekend, and we were going to be spending Saturday with her, and I was just like, how am I going to cram in 5 weeks of studying into 2 weeks while still having to be able to get ready for our trip and spend these times doing these things that I was already committed to. I felt like I was going to stress myself out and cause myself more physical just beat upness and then still not pass the test. And so I talked it over with Ron, and we agreed that it would be better to wait and study properly. So I've kind of put studying on pause until after we get back, and I will take my science CLEP test in probably June, and then I will retake the American literature test in July, or maybe the end of May and June or something like that. Give myself a full 4 weeks to study for these tests, and that way I can pass them properly. And I will have been at my new job long enough to be able to take a couple of hours off to take the tests, and I think it'll all work out a lot better. I'm feeling a lot better about it. So that is the plan now, and that is one of the reasons why I don't have quite as many socks to show, and I was able to work on things that weren't stockinette socks this week. So I'm feeling good about it. It would have been great to be able to go to my graduation knowing that I only had 3 credits left to take in a CLEP test, but I can only fit so much in, right? So anyway, that's about it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and edit this and get it loaded, and then I've got lots of housework to do, because while I was studying and while I was working hard through the tax season, oh, that reminds me, tax season is over. We did it. So I no longer have to work 5 days a week for the next week. I'm going to be at my job, my current job, for another 2 days, 2 work days, and then that is over, and then I have my trip and my graduation, and then I start my new job when I come back. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, I made it through tax season, and it was pretty cool. Not too bad. Busy, but not the worst thing ever. And so yeah, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna sign off now. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and happy knitting. Bye.